subscribe our channel. Stay till the end of the stories for more twist and turn. Comment us about what kind of stories you like to hear. Am I the a-hole for not adopting my wife's child? I, 27 male, used to have a wonderful relationship with a woman I love, 26 female. However, 5 years ago, she got drunk, had a one-night stand, and got pregnant from it. Can't be mine. I can't have kids due to a horseback riding injury when I was a teen. Didn't get the guy's name, no way to find him, so he's out of the picture. My wife decided to keep it, and we almost went through a divorce, but couples therapy made us decide to try again. We're still in therapy now, since I still have a hard time trusting her. So, she had her son. We talked a lot about it, and I made it clear that I'm okay taking on a step-parent role, but I wasn't willing to fully be his dad. I wouldn't adopt him, but I would help raise him and get him off to college. My wife agreed to this, became a stay-at-home mom, so she could take care of him with help from her parents, and I've pretty much been the fun uncle-like guy. I play with him, buy him games, try my best to not resent him, and I am in therapy for this, and mostly just stay out of the way of my wife's parenting. He even called me uncle, instead of dad. He knows I'm not his father, and is just happy to play video games with me and chill. Well, recently, my wife has started talking about me adopting him, something I'm not willing to do. I made it clear that if anything happened, he would go live with her parents, and I'd send child support. If they couldn't take him, I wouldn't put him in foster care or anything, but I also wasn't willing to take on the responsibility of being his father when I'm not. I'm happy being an uncle to another man's kid, since that's what life threw at me. This has greatly upset her, and she's trying to find a way to force me into adopting him. She's even been manipulating the poor kid, saying he should start calling me dad, instead of uncle like he has his entire life, which is upsetting and confusing the poor boy. This situation has worked for the last 5 years, and I don't know why she's trying to change something that isn't broken, or force me into a role I told her years ago I wasn't willing to accept, which she was fine with until just recently. Update: after reading everything, I told my wife I was leaving and pursuing the divorce. I think I've been ready to do so for a while, but just needed the push. This has led to a complete meltdown, but I stayed firm, packed everything up, and moved in with my brother across town. I have already contacted the landlord to tell him I would pay for 2 more months' rent. After that, everything needs to be switched to her. Talking to my lawyer, it was verified that, due to the process I went through after the birth to establish I wasn't the father, I would not have to pay child support or alimony, which is something very rare and uncommon anyway where I live. He's already working on the paperwork. No idea when it'll all happen, but once it does I'll cut full contact. My wife has tried to call and text multiple times, but I've refused to talk. I'll post another update when I know more. You may want to check with an attorney. Regardless of whether or not he is your biological child, you have been raising and supporting him. Even if you don't adopt him, he's likely yours in the eyes of the court. That said, Auntie, you had an agreement, you supported her decision to keep the baby, you worked through her infidelity. She wants to have her cake and eat it too. I have checked with 2 lawyers, one actually my brother-in-law and one an outside party. I was not put on the birth certificate, and was actually told by both that the fact that he wasn't mine was grounds for a quick divorce, no matter how long it's been. If we divorced tomorrow, I would basically be walking away free. My brother-in-law was disgusted with his sister when he found out, and was even the one to suggest I get the divorce. My other lawyer is much more neutral about it all, so I trust what he says. Auntie, once she cheated on you, she lost the right to ask anything of you. You set boundaries that she agreed to, and now, she pulled the child into this to try to get her way. You worked through divorce once, but something like confusing the kid by making him call you dad when you've been uncle all his life, would be a deal breaker for me. You're gonna have to sit her down and let her know that if she's going back on her word, she's making your previous decision to divorce come back to light. This is terrible advice. He chose to stay in this marriage. In marriage, your spouse does have the right to ask things of you. Is she just supposed to live in a perpetual state of punishment and guilt for the rest of her life? I don't condone cheating, but he decided to stay in this marriage. This whole situation just sounds toxic and awful for everyone, especially the kid. Marriages that survive infidelity do so by rebuilding trust in your partner, not enshrining your resentment. He has not allowed himself to love this kid. He's purposely kept him at arm's length and seems to feel no attachment. Can you imagine growing up in a house like that? Do you think the kid doesn't feel it? He absolutely does. Auntie A. She is emotionally abusing both of you, for trying to use him to manipulate you. Honestly, she has had many chances and I feel she hasn't taken them. Takes advantage of you. I would consider a divorce. But at least for this specific question, definitely Auntie A. Agreed. She needs to understand he is a reminder of the ultimate betrayal. You set clear boundaries from the start. Doesn't sound like you are mean or rude to the kid, and you go therapy to not be angry about it. I don't know if I would have hung in there. Trust with the wife must be hard. In your place, I would be looking for the con. Is she going to leave the kid with you if you adopt it and run off? Auntie A. You'll never be able fully to get over your resentment, with your wife trying to force you to be a father to her son. I highly recommend that you consider if it's worth staying in a relationship with your wife. She has cheated on you, left you with the responsibility of financially supporting both her son and herself, and is trying to force you to be the boy's father. Her actions prove her to be a highly selfish person who probably isn't capable of being a proper partner. It's possible that cutting your losses on this relationship, and moving on, is the best choice for you. ESH. I don't know how so many people think they can live in a house with a child and be completely removed from the parenting of that child. You are that child's stepfather. You are not his uncle. You are your wife's partner, and that's a partner in everything. If you resent her and him so much, just leave. Let her find someone who actually cares about her and her son. Auntie A. In fact, mate, you've done something that a lot of people wouldn't. Fair play to you, they're both extremely lucky to have you. However, I would get rid of the name Uncle ASAP. If Dad makes you extremely uncomfortable, understandably, then just use your first name. You don't want him going to school and it going round that Mommy and Uncle are married. One last thing, if your wife can't accept your boundaries, then I think you should take a week off and go somewhere by yourself, maybe camping, seeing as tourism isn't really ideal right now, and really think about what you want from the rest of your life. Okay, your reason for not wanting him to not be called uncle is fair and hilarious. ESH. My dad didn't think I was his biological son and was nice enough to treat me like one anyway. In the grand scheme of life, treating kids well pays off when you're old. ESH. This story seems so unbelievable. I know it only takes one time to get pregnant, but really? She only cheated once while drunk and accidentally got pregnant? And you're seriously going to raise this child his entire life and make him call you uncle? That's weirder than him just calling you your name. It sounds like this is not the family you want, so maybe you shouldn't be in it. Auntie A. You're a saint for doing as much as you did. Your wife should look in the mirror for why the boy doesn't have a father. I wouldn't have stayed if I was in your position. ESH. You and your wife both have issues. She obviously betrayed your trust, cheated on you, and gave birth to someone else's child. That's a big deal. That's a deal breaker in most relationships. You decided to go to couples therapy and stay in the relationship. You chose that. You chose to be a figure in this kid's life. The agreement you all made where you all would continue a relationship but you would not parent the child is all kinds of messed up. I do not think you should have had to care for this kid that's not yours, But if that were the case, the marriage should have ended. She's going about all of this in the wrong way. If she's looking for someone to take over that fatherly role for her kid, she needs to end the marriage. I feel bad for this kid though above all else. He has a mother that's manipulative, a stepdad, because that's what you technically are, even if he calls you uncle, who does not love him in any capacity, which you stated somewhere in a comment. This is just setting him for a life of therapy and resentment. I'll start with, just to get it out of the way, she shouldn't be pushing adoption or trying to get the kid to call you dad. That's what makes her an asshole. She should, however, be talking to a divorce attorney. As you should, as well. You say you're fine with taking on a step-parent role, but you're not even doing that. You're actively avoiding any parental role out of resentment and anger. If you haven't gotten over being cheated on after 5 years, you never will and clearly don't want to. Therapy clearly isn't helping. You clearly resent her and the kid. Get out or get in. You can't walk this line forever. The kid is barely past being a toddler. His needs and mentality is simple now. But once he starts seeing how normal, healthy relationships are with his school friends, with their parents and step-parents, and then he sees how much you don't love him and actively resent him, despite having literally been around all his life, it's going to hurt him. Also, I saw you seem to think you can walk away free and clear, and I have to say you're dead wrong. Even if you went to the trouble of delegitimizing this kid when he was born, you actively took on a parental role in the years since. There are not too many states I'm aware of that will allow you to walk away like you seem to think. Divorce was the only answer. You will never love the kid as yours, which is perfectly acceptable. But it is her kid. She will resent you for not wanting to raise him. It's a lose-lose situation. I'm sure she thought you would change your mind over time. The less you love this kid as your own, the more your relationship with your wife will suffer. Sorry dude. Whole situation sucks. Don't take it out on the kid. Just walk away. Hope something works out where you find peace, my dude. You shouldn't have stayed if you couldn't be more than an uncle to this kid. You are telling this kid that you love his mom, enough to forgive her cheating, but will never love him for something entirely not his fault. This is super shitty, so I'm gonna go with but especially you for giving your wife away back, only with the caveat of hurting her son by never allowing him a real father figure. Thanks for listening so far. If story have update, we will post here. Like and subscribe to our channel for upcoming stories.